fascinating, Darren Ambrose, because I think a lot of people, now they're in the Champions League, they've got the Saudi backing behind them, expect Newcastle to be one of the big spenders in this summer transfer window. I'm not sure that will be the case. I don't think they're necessarily planning on spending as much as people think. They want at least one, if not two midfielders, the likes of Scott McTominay, James Maddison on their list. But this is still about sensible building blocks, isn't it? And really not coming away from the ethos that served them so well last season.
Yeah, of course. We had him on the boot room. I told you I'd mention it again. We had him on the boot room a few weeks ago, Eddie Howe, didn't we? And he kept his cards close to his chest in terms of what he will get in the transfer market. I think you and I both know that he will do the right thing with whatever he has, whatever finances he has at the football club. They're an awfully rich club, we know this, but they've spent really well up till now. What he done for me when he arrived at the football club, that he changed the defence. The defence needed sort in the goalkeeper. He signed some fantastic defenders, Dan Burns, Sven Botman, Trippier, Nick Pope in the goal as well, changed it all. And they conceded the fewest amount in the second, I think, joint with Man City in terms of the fewest amount of goals in the Premier League last season. They don't score as many to be challenging for the title yet in terms of Arsenal and City. I think they're 15, 20 goals behind Arsenal, so they need to improve on that. Callum Wilson, fantastic goal scorer. Isak didn't play that many, but got to 10 Premier League goals, I believe. I think they don't need much to be competing again for Champions League football. Do they not? I think they just need a bit more depth, because now they have European football, now they have Champions League. It's not like a Europa Conference or Europa League where you can probably play a few second string players. This is Champions League football. You're going to play your top team against these teams. So I think they just need depth. But if they've not got lots of money to spend, or they're not giving a huge amount of finances, I trust Eddie Howe to make the right signings. And the signings that he can bring in, Anthony Gordon, for instance, he bought in last year, yet to see him really have a full run in the team. I think he's ready. I think Eddie Howe knows, and he's improved every player since he's arrived, Eddie Howe. And as credit to him, and you more than most speak really highly of Eddie Howe. And I think that he'll do the right thing. He'll bring the right people in, a little bit more depth. But I think I can see him in the top four again next season. One
of the questions that I put to Eddie Howe during that interview on the boot room was, could expectation be your own worst enemy? Because we all know how fervent the Newcastle fans, they're going to really buy into this Champions League campaign. Under the lights at St James's Park will be rocking. But you look at Chelsea, get a back Pochettino this window. They had a nightmare season. Liverpool underwhelmed for a lot of it and ended up missing out on the top four. They're going to be stronger, surely. Manchester United, you expect to go again under Erik ten Hag. Tottenham have a new manager in Postecoglou, who I think might just do a bit better than maybe some sceptical Tottenham fans think. Aston Villa, I'm told, are going to really have a go in this window. I think I had a bet with Jim White on his show that Aston Villa finish above Newcastle. Quite a substantial bet in actual fact. So how do Newcastle emulate what they did last season without going big in the market, but bearing in mind what they're going to be up against with those other football clubs? I think that them saying they're not going to go big in the transfer market is all well and good. I think could it just be a cynical attempt to try and make teams believe they haven't got any money? I think so. I mean, no team's going to believe they've got no money. In terms of no money to spend, I think it's an approach that they're using. I think if you start to see Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, even Spurs spending big money, you could see Newcastle getting involved in that. Absolutely. The owners could say, right, let's release a little bit more funds into this, because they all want to stay there. They see the reaction of the supporters last season when they got into not just Champions League, into European contention. The atmosphere is phenomenal at that place, and I think the owners will have seen that. Amanda Staveley will have seen that, and they'll want more of it. And I think Eddie Howe is definitely the right man. They're going to have periods where it's not going too well. They did last season just before the cup final. It's going to happen again, but they seem to they know how to approach, and then they backed Eddie Howe, and I think that we'll see that again. I agree with Jose Enrique, to be honest. You're not going to see players like Neymar turn up yet at a club like Newcastle. I think they're going to build in the right way. They're going to bring the right players that fit into Eddie Howe's, not only Eddie Howe's system, but Eddie Howe's philosophy in their mentality as well, and what they bring to the football club. And like I said, I trust Eddie Howe to do the right thing, and I think you've lost a bet there with Jim White, to be honest. Well, I've got 500 reasons to hope Aston Villa finish above Newcastle. And that's no disrespect to Newcastle. I think they were one of the success stories of last season. Ambrose has already alluded to my admiration for Eddie Howe, Jason Tindall, and the rest of the backroom team. You said they would finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
So as we sit here now, and listen, the window has only been open a matter of days, a lot of business to be done. What's your top 4?
Man City,
Well, stick your neck out.
Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle.
Really? So
As I sit here now. But we're looking at potentially, you've mentioned Aston Villa. They're going to go big, apparently. They're going to get stronger. I agree with you. I think Spurs will be better under Ange Postecoglou. Easy for me to say. I think they'll be better. Whether they compete for the top 4 yet, I don't think so. I think it'll be top 6. Chelsea will... There's a lot of football clubs this season that could finish in the top 4. Manchester United, your Manchester United are one of those as well. So,
thank you.
I think this season's going to be better than last, more competitive than last season, and I'm hoping it is, to be honest.
And let me give you the reasons that I made that bet with Jim White. So I think if you look at the 2 squads on paper, as we sit here now, it's a flip of a coin, isn't it? Aston Villa and Newcastle, man for man.
Yes, yeah, it is. If you look at the form Aston Villa had towards the back end of last season and Newcastle, they were 2 informed sides, 2 of the informed sides. So yeah, it is flip of a coin for sure.
Do they play each other on the first weekend of the season? I think they mightn't they?
We'll have to confirm
Villa
that.
against Newcastle. Unai Emery, I think, is a much better manager than Arsenal fans will want to admit to. And I'm told, as I say, Aston Villa will go big. Newcastle at the moment, the suggestions are that they won't. So there's a bit of method behind the madness. Listen, you look at the odds of the bookmakers, Newcastle are going to finish streets ahead of Aston Villa, and I'll be 500 quid down to the charity of Jim White's choice.
You are right. 12th of August, Newcastle at St James's Park play Aston Villa.
And let's have another conversation after that game has taken place.